David here with Figboot on Pens, here with a very special announcement. I have a brand new project which will be launching very soon. It's been a while since my last project, and here in 2024, I'm going to be making up for lost time. What I'm going to be discussing today is the first of potentially 3 different projects this year. If all go as planned, there'll be this one here at the beginning of the year, one in the summer, and another in the fall, each with a different manufacturer. I am very excited about all 3 of these projects and can't wait to share more about the other 2 when the time is appropriate. But today I get to share the first one with you. What I am going to do is go over the parts and features of this pen, let you know all the necessary details about when and where these will be going on sale. I'll show some measurements, as well as provide a writing sample. I have really enjoyed my previous projects. Expanding things a bit and partnering with some fantastic companies and artisans has been very fulfilling. It's fun to create something that people enjoy, and it's a blast when all the pens are shipped and you see folks getting excited about their purchases and posting pictures on social media. So, what is this project? It is from the Italian brand Radius and is called the Blue Flame. And this is what it looks like. This will be a limited edition of 300 units. Right now, I just have a couple of sample pens. I don't have packaging yet, but we're working to create a nice custom box with my logo on it. The branding will be on the outer box, not the actual box itself. If you're not familiar with the brand Radius, I've previously reviewed one of their pens, which was a special limited edition sold by Stilo and Stile, which sold out very quickly for them. Radius is a brand which was founded back in 1934 and was based out of Turin, Italy, which is located in the northern part of the country. The company produced pens for around 20 years until the mid-1950s. The company was recently revived by the Italian brand Leonardo and began producing pens under that name back in 2019. And they've based their releases on historical designs. Okay, let's talk about this pen and then I'll get into the details of the sale. This pen is made from a translucent Italian resin. This is the same material which was used in a version of the Leonardo Pura. I'll show you how that pen compares during the size comparisons. The exterior of this pen has a bit of a frosted look to it that I love. The material is opaque enough that you can see shadows of what's going on underneath the surface, so it adds a bit of mystery. This is actually called a velvet finish. I was originally going to name this pen Blue Velvet. After I provided some folks a sneak preview of this model up on the Pen Addict Slack channel, the Blue Flame name was suggested. I even held a little vote, and Blue Flame won by a landslide. And I think it fits the pen well, so I went with that. It does look a lot like the blue flame, which is typically produced when you burn propane or natural gas, with the bright blue, and then I haven't mentioned it, but it does have some rainbow hardware. On the top of the cap, it comes to a slight rounded point. Then we have the clip. I mentioned the rainbow hardware. This is a PVD treatment with a nice rainbow gradient, so every pen is going to have a bit of different and unique look to it. The cap angles up just a bit. At the end of the cap, on the back side, it's engraved with Radius and Figboot. And then we have this unique band at the end of the cap. I like how the material can be seen through the gaps in that band. Then there's an angled step down to the barrel, which is straight for about 1.5 inches before tapering down. And like the top of the cap, the end of the barrel comes to a rounded coned point. This cap twists off with a single rotation, and underneath we have what I feel is a real highlight of this pen, which is the PVD-coated rainbow nib. It's engraved with Radius and Superior. The nibs will be available in a wide variety of choices. These nibs are made by Jowo. There will be extra fine, fine, medium, broad, a 1.1 stub, as well as an elastic fine and an elastic extra fine. And here's a look at the plastic feed. You can even see here how the underside of the nib has the rainbow treatment as well. This section begins with a small flare and then angles up slightly until you reach the threads and the rainbow band. And there's essentially no step up between the barrel and the section. I find this pen to be very comfortable in the hand. The velvet exterior treatment really helps you maintain a solid grip. If your grip happens to spill over to the threads, I don't find them to be sharp, and that lack of a step up really helps the section to be accommodating to a variety of grip styles. The cap does post, and it does post securely. With that tapered end, I do find the edge of the cap isn't sharp, so it's comfortable if it should rub up against the inside of my grip. This pen is a cartridge converter and accepts standard international cartridges and will arrive with a threaded converter. One of the things I love about this pen is some of the hidden details, like the end of the section housing here has the rainbow treatment as well. We were considering having the rainbow treatment on the end of the converter as well, but decided against it. It would have come at an additional expense and added to the production time. And in the end, it's really only visible when you're inking up the pen. If you could really notice it through the barrel when you're using the pen, then I probably would have gone ahead with it. But ultimately, I felt it was best to leave it off and leave it as it is here. Okay, let's talk about the sale and how you could purchase one of these pens. I am very biased, but I am really pleased with how this pen turned out. And I hope if you purchase one, you'll feel the same. The only place to purchase this pen will be on my website, figbooton.com. Don't bother looking for a bunch of content on the site. It doesn't exist. Maybe one day it will, but I've primarily been using this site to sell projects like these. I'll put a link to the site in the notes below. The sale will begin on Saturday, February 10th at 9 a.m. Eastern, and the pen will sell for $199. What a bargain. This will be a limited edition of 300 units, but unfortunately I will not be able to accommodate any special requests regarding specific pen numbers. In regard to shipping, it'll be $15 within the US and $35 for international shipping. If you are located within the EU, these pens will be sent directly to you from the manufacturer in Italy so that you can avoid having to pay the additional tax. After the sale is complete, the pens will ship in approximately 45 days. The reason for this is that I wanted to give everyone the opportunity to order the nib of their choosing. The pens themselves are already made. Once I provide Radius or Leonardo with the nib quantities, they will affix the correct quantity and then send them my way as well as ship them directly to EU customers. So think of this as kind of like a pre-order with a fairly short wait. I have run most of my projects like this, and I'm very proud that I've been able to deliver on or before the promised delivery date for each of my projects. Okay, I am very excited about this project, and I can't wait to get these in the hands of everyone. So now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample with the two nibs that I have here. I have a fine as well as a 1.1 stub. Okay, here we have a closer look at the Radius Figboot on Pens Blue Flame. I just really think that this blue is mesmerizing, and I think that the combination of the blue with the PVD treatment looks really nice. I mentioned here on the back, you could say that it says Radius Figboot and then the number of the pen. And then we open this up and you can see here we have this really colorful nib. This one here is the 1.1. I know it just, when the light catches it just right, but I do think that this does look like a blue flame with the blue flame and then the tip of it. I think it just looks amazing. And then I mentioned as well, and I showed here that there is the PVD on the internal parts here, which I think is neat. And I'm just really happy with the way this material turned out, or the way the pen turned out. This was always one of my favorite materials that Leonardo, as well as Stilo and Stile, have produced in the different colors. And I just think that it looks amazing in this velvet material. It's just stunning in my mind. So I'm really pleased with the way this turned out. I wanted to show how this one compared to my previous projects. This was my very first project, which was a Leonardo Momento Zero. This one really didn't even have a name. We just called it the Figboot on pens. And then the next project was a Momento Zero, and this was the Carolina Midnight. And it had a choice of either the ruthenium or the rhodium plating on that trim and nib, and I thought that one turned out amazing. And then after that, we had some material left over, so we made a Momento Zero Grande model out of the Carolina Midnight material. And then finally, the last project I had was with Franklin Christoph, and this pen here was their Model 66 Stabilis, and this one was called the California Sunset. So those were all of the projects, and I've been pleased with each one of these and the way they turned out. And I can't wait to show you some of the other projects I have coming in the future. In regard to a couple of other pens, I mentioned that this material was used in a Leonardo Pura, which is what that model looks like. You can see that is a little bit larger than the Radius. This is what the Radius looks like. This was called the Prisma, which Stilo and Stile produced earlier this year, and it did really well for them. This is a Sailor Pro Gear, and that model is called the Blue Cobra. And then finally, here's another blue pen, which is a Diplomat Arrow. In regard to uncapped comparisons, this is what it looks like with the Diplomat Arrow. And then here it is with a Sailor Pro Gear. And then here is a Leonardo Momento Zero. Okay, here we have the Radius. And this is the Figboot Blue Flame. This particular nib is a fine. It is a stainless steel nib. And the ink I'm using is one of my favorite blue inks, which is Robert Oster Bondi Blue. This is what the ink looks like. It's just a really nice kind of saturated and vibrant blue. It's very similar in my mind to the Pilot Urushizuku Konpeki, which is one of my favorites, as well as Krishna Peacock Blue, which is just a little bit more saturated. All three of these are fantastic blue inks. And this is what the Robert Oster bottle looks like. You can tell here, it's hard to see, but I maybe only have maybe about a quarter, 20% of this ink left. I actually purchased another bottle of this because I know that eventually I'm going to go through it. But the bottles are nice, and the ink is as well. Okay, here we go with the rest of the writing sample. I've mentioned this many times before. I'm not a huge fan of fine nibs, but I find this one to be pleasant. It's not too scratchy, and it has a decent amount of feedback to it. In regard to the ink flow, it's decent. And in regard to reverse writing, you know what? I caught a little bit of paper in there. Let's get that out. There we go. And it lays down a nice extra fine line. And then in regard to some fast writing, yeah, I really like it. The feed keeps up well. While I typically prefer mediums and broads, I think I'm going to use this fine. This fine was the one that was sent to me as a sample, as well as the 1.1 I'll show you here in a minute. But I've really been enjoying using this one, so I'm probably going to use this one a lot. In regard to the 1.1, we have, let's just go ahead and start with the writing sample. And you can see without much effort at all, it adds a lot of flair to your writing. You're going to get not much flex in regard to this, but you're not going to get a lot of flex here, but the lines going down are going to be significantly wider than the ones going across. In regard to ink flow, it's very decent. In reverse writing, I mean, it's pretty much not a reason to do reverse writing with a stub. Ooh, it's very scratchy. Yeah, it's really not meant to do that much. And in regard to some fast writing, we'll squeeze this in over here. It's very smooth and keeps up very well. So there we have the Radius Figboot on Pens Blue Flame. I am very excited about this project. As I mentioned, it will go on sale at 9 a.m. Eastern on basically Saturday, February 10th, and it will be selling for $1.99, which I feel is a fair price for what you're going to receive with this pen. I appreciate everyone's support and hope that if you would like to pick up this pen, that you're able to do so. If you have any questions, by all means, put them in the notes below, and I will answer those as quickly as possible. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.